Hi everyone, it is Janine from It's Naturally Neen. Today I wanted to do a medication review of Humira for rheumatoid arthritis. I was 15 when I was diagnosed with severe juvenile idiopathic arthritis, which now has turned into rheumatoid arthritis. If you've watched my other videos, you know that I was first put on methotrexate and Enbrel and had a complete remission for 5 years until Enbrel stopped working, unfortunately. I then went into a 2-year flare. And during that time, I had experimented with some other, less popular drugs right now, like sulfasalazine, and I believe the other one was Plaquenil. Those were not effective for me, and oddly, all of my lymph nodes were getting swollen, and then they were testing me for cancer. It was really stressful. And then at some point during that time, I stress fractured my foot. I was in a boot. I was at college at the time. None of this was pleasant. And during that time, my doctor suggested I try Humira. So I was on the full dose of methotrexate and Humira and prednisone. And the pain was so bad. Well, let me also just say, the injection itself, I've heard they've now changed the formula, but when I took the injection, it burned like anything I've ever felt. It was the most unsuspecting thing. I was not expecting it at all. I was on the methotrexate, the Humira, the prednisone, and I was in excruciating pain for many days on end. And I know that these drugs can take time to work. I believe they say it can be 3 to 6 months. I was on that Humira for well beyond that. I remember pleading with my doctor, like, clearly this isn't working. Why am I still on it? I don't remember the exact time frame now, but I want to say it was like at least a year that I was on Humira. And I believe we got to the point where we bumped it from bi-weekly to every week. And I had pretty much given up hope on that drug until one day, suddenly it just started working. Symptoms started getting better. And honestly, in hindsight, I don't quite know if it was the drug or if perhaps I was living in a moldy school dorm room and then moved to an off-campus house that didn't have mold. I don't know. I don't know if there was something environmental that was affecting me and then was no longer affecting me, but all I know is that I was on the Humira, it wasn't working, and then finally it started working. And from there, I went into a complete remission of symptoms for another 5 years. And those 5 years allowed me to finish college and then go on and finish law school. So for that, I am super grateful. Unfortunately, what ended up happening is the same thing that happened with the Enbrel. The drug stopped working. It got to the point where we increased it back up to weekly injections. I was on the full dose of methotrexate and I was taking a lot of prednisone, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. I know how bad all of this is. I do. And it wasn't working. It got to the point where my doctor deemed the drug a failure and I had to come off of it. For what it's worth though, it did provide me those 5 years of symptom relief. As far as side effects, the one immediate side effect that I can tell you about is the injection site. That was completely painful. I will say during my time on Humira and methotrexate that I did develop other conditions and other symptoms. Do I think this is from the Humira? No, I don't think the Humira caused this, but I do think that my immune system was suppressed and that the issue that's at the root that was causing the autoimmune condition was not being addressed. And so that fire was allowed to spread. The way that I like to think of it with autoimmune, it's like you have a fire in your house, and with these drugs, you come in and you take out the fire alarm, but the fire's still there. Granted, symptom relief is worth so much, so no judgment there, but you have to understand that that root cause is still going on in there. So while I was on the Humira and the methotrexate, suddenly I started developing chronic yeast infections, chronic UTIs, vertigo to the point that I couldn't leave my apartment. I was diagnosed with interstitial cystitis. I had full body hives every day. I was taking Zyrtec regularly. I developed panic attacks and just generalized anxiety disorder. I believe that is the complete list, although I feel confident I'm missing something. Anyway, you have enough information to understand that other symptoms were arising. And so again, that's why I really stress taking a holistic approach in conjunction with medication, not taking a black and white approach of only one or the other. If I had done both from the beginning, I think I would have had better controlled symptoms across the board. So again, that's not to say that the Humira caused those symptoms. I do believe, though, that the issues that were causing the autoimmune from the beginning were allowed to continue, and that enabled further conditions to come online, unfortunately. Anyway, I hope that this medication review was helpful. I'd love to hear about your experience or any questions you might have down in the comments. Click subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this.